Hello and warm regards from Next Rise team. Welcome to another episode of Daily News Analysis. Today is 19 December and let's see the topics that we are going to cover today. The first topic we are having is a new securities market code because it is going to bring reforms in the securities market. The second topic we are having is India-Oman Free Trade Agreement. Then the third topic we are having is India-Russia Logistic Agreement. Fourth topic is about the ad hoc judges appointed in High Court as well as in Supreme Court. We are going to see the constitutional provisions related with that and what is the problem that is encountering in this appointment. The next topic is about the BS6 norms for the vehicles. What are these norms, why we have introduced them, and how they are different from BS4 norms. The next topic is about Dhruv 64 microprocessors, indigenously developed processors by India, because we are now trying to have a footprint in the semiconductor sector. In that context, this is the good achievement that India has. The next topic is about passive euthanasia. So we are going to see how it is different from the active euthanasia and what are the legal provisions with respect to euthanasia in the country. So let's start with the first topic. The first topic we are having is Securities Market Code 2025. Now, why it is relevant? It is relevant because it is going to bring sweeping reforms in the securities market of the country. So it is going to replace 3 existing acts in the securities market that we are going to see. Relevance is GS paper 3, the Indian economy, financial markets and regulatory reforms. Now, what is the news? The news is that the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has tabled the Securities Market Code SMC 2025 in the Parliament, and this particular act has the objective to modernize and streamline India's security markets. Now, next part is what are going to be the key provisions of this particular code or act. Now, this Securities Market Code is going to replace existing 3 acts: Securities Contract, SEBI Act and the Depositories Act of 1996. The objective is to simplify the legal provisions for the securities market and to consolidate and rationalize those legal provisions. Now, within this, the first part here is the SEBI Board. The SEBI Board is now being reformed. There are going to be 15 members in the SEBI Board, and these 15 members are going to be in the following manner. One will be a chairman. Now, below this chairman, there are going to be 2 members coming from the central government, 1 member coming from RBI, and rest 11 members will be there itself. And of those 11 members, 5 members, at least 5 members should be full-time or whole-time members. So this is the constitution of the new SEBI Board after implementation of this SMC code. Second part is about the conflict of interest, or you can say second part is about the accountability of the board members. Now, the board members can be removed with the SEBI itself. If it is found that any member is involved or has acquired any financial or interest prejudicial to the official capacity. Second thing is mandatory disclosures have now been made. They have to make mandatory disclosures in the case of any direct or indirect interest as well as any interest of their family members. So अगर उन्होंने कुछ acquire किया है या उनका कोई अपना interest हो, they have to mandatory disclose that thing. Next thing is that members must recuse. Now it is mandatory. If members must recuse, it means that they have to stay away from any proceedings in which there is any conflict of interest. So these are the things these are the provisions for ensuring accountability of the SEBI Board. Now, next part that comes is about the decriminalization of the security laws. पहले क्या होता था? If there is any offense with respect to the securities, then there will be criminal punishment that will be handed over to the accused. Now, it has been removed. The provisions have been decriminalized. What does this mean? It means there are going to be, first of all, 2 types of offenses. First one is fraudulent and unfair trade practices. उसके case में there will be penalties जो impose की जाएंगी, and with the penalties the person can work after paying the penalties. The second is the market abuse. It involves serious violations, for example, serious violations affecting the market integrity and the public interest. Now, if such a thing happens, then it will attract civil penalties. So for serious offenses, there will be civil penalties. For the mild offenses, there are going to be normal penalties. Now, next is about the regulatory function. To make it more efficient, now the SEBI can actually delegate the registered related functions to MIIs एंड सेल्फ रेगुलेटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, तो उनको वो डेलीगेट कर सकता है अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन रिलेटेड फंक्शन। उसके बाद आता है वी हैव द अबाउट द इन्वेस्टर। So for the investor protection, there are two provisions that have been introduced in this particular act. The first is about the investor charter. एक investor charter SEBI को it has to make a investor charter and it will be given on its website. Second is investor grievance redressal mechanism that will also be created or established by SEBI, so that if any investor is facing any problem or he has faced any problem, he can go to this redressal mechanism. Even SEBI can ask the service providers to have these kind of mechanisms. So wo SEBI ko it has been given the responsibility. Now the next and last part comes is about improving the investment climate and promoting market in the country. So for that, the SEBI is going to facilitate listing of other regulatory instruments. Then second, uske साथ साथ it will ensure better coordination and interoperability among the MIIs. So these are the important provisions of this SMC code or Securities Market Code of 2025. Now with this, you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. The second topic we are having is India Oman have signed SEPA or Free Trade Agreement. The SEPA is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Now this topic is relevant from GS paper 3, external sector, trade policy, regional economic integration and ease of doing business. The news is that India and Oman have signed the SEPA agreement yesterday. Now, what is the significance here? The significance here is that, first of all, for India, Oman is the second country in the Gulf region which India is having a SEPA. So India now is having SEPA in Gulf region with two countries. One is UAE. With UAE, India signed the agreement in 2022. Now with Oman, the agreement was signed yesterday itself. So in 2025, we are having the second country. Now from Oman point of view, we see for Oman, India is the first country after USA with which it is having a free trade agreement. With USA, it signed the agreement in 2006. Now, after almost 20 years or 2 decades, it is signing its another agreement. Now, if we see from the global perspective, in the global perspective, India is facing a lot of trade restrictions. First of all, imposition of the tariffs by USA on India. So, 50% tariffs are still active on India regarding the exports India is doing for USA. Secondly, if we talk about European Union itself, so it has imposed carbon border adjustment mechanisms. Both these steps taken by the Western countries have hampered India's exports. So in that context, India wants to increase its footprint with respect to the global trade. So this is one step in this regard. So with this, India will be able to diversify the export market. Secondly, it will reduce the over dependence upon the Western countries, because India की जैसे outreach in the African region, in the West Asian region बढ़ेगी, तो dependence upon USA and European countries will be decreased or it will be balanced. Third one is that it will be expanding the footprint in West Asia, Africa and beyond. So ये significance हो जाती है इस particular trade agreement की. Now next thing, अगर ओमान के point of view से बोलें कि why Oman becomes important for us or significant for us. First of all, Oman is the gateway for the GCC or Gulf countries region. Secondly, for Africa, Central Asia and Europe. Secondly, Oman imports of 40 billion annually. So we have a large market, a 40 billion market is there where we can export. Secondly, 2/3 of its machinery needs are being imported itself. So India can be one of the countries which can export the machinery to Oman country. Now third part is that Oman is having FTA with the US. So from Oman, the goods can go to US. Now India, if it is exporting to US, it is facing 50% tariffs. So one way of bypassing this tariff can be that India can export to Oman, and from Oman then it can be exported to US. So it can be a mechanism for neutralizing the 50% tariff that is imposed on our country. Now next, what are the provisions of this FTA? So first of all, let's talk about Oman itself. So Oman has said to 98% of the tariff lines have now been given a zero duty access. That means there will be no tax that will be imposed on 98% of the goods or tariff lines that we are having. Secondly, this will be covering 99% of India's exports to the Oman. Third part is it is going to enable 2 billion additional exports in the near term, and it will improve the price competitiveness for Indian exports where tariff earlier went up to 100%. Indian side क्या हुआ है? India has liberalized 77.8% of the tariff lines. Also, India has been able to maintain the sensitive sectors out of this free trade agreement. For example, dairy, tea, coffee, rubber, tobacco, gold, silver, bullion, jewelry. Then labor-intensive products like footwear and sports goods are out of this tariff or free trade agreement. So उनके ऊपर अभी भी हम tariff लगा सकते हैं. बाकी we have given free trade to the Oman goods. Now next part is which are the goods which are going to be benefited and which have not been, where the tariffs is not eliminated. Now first one is full tariff elimination benefits will get to gems and jewelry, textiles and apparels, leather, footwear, sports goods, plastics and furniture, engineering goods, pharmaceuticals and medical devices. Benefit होगा employment generation, MSME support, artisan, women-led enterprises etc. तो economy को benefit इससे मिलेगा. Then next part is trade profile की अगर हम बात करें. So first of all, India's export to Oman. So India exports around 4 to 6 billion goods, $4 to $6 billion goods to Oman, and they include machinery, petroleum products, aircraft and parts, then rice, iron, steel articles, beauty and personal care, and ceramics. Whereas we import crude oil, LNG, fertilizers, methanol, ammonia, and petroleum coke from Oman. So our imports are basically in these goods and our exports are in these goods to Oman. Next part is about the service. So in the service sector also we have been provided certain benefits. Oman has offered commitments across 127 subsectors including IT, computer service, business professional service, R&D, education, health, audio-visual services. So Oman is going to provide service sector opportunities in these regions. Then if we talk about mode for commitment, so mode for commitment means person to person interaction, that person can go to other countries. So in that case there has been some reduction in the barriers. So intra-corporate transfer quota has been increased to 50%, earlier it was 20%. That means 50% of the employees of a corporate can come from India itself. Then contractual service supplier stay has also been extended. Earlier it was only 3 months. Now it has been extended to 2 years. यानी 2 years तक एक person ओमान country के अंदर रह सकता है. Then further 2-year extension is also possible there. So there is a relaxation in terms of the movement of the labor. So that is beneficial for India because India is a labor surplus country. Then more liberal entry and stay for professionals in case of accountancy, taxation, architecture, medical and allied services. So the professional services, the professionals can also have a more liberal and a longer stay in Oman country. The next part is investment and long-term cooperation. So 100% FDI has been permitted for the Indian companies in the major service sectors in Oman. And that will include energy transition, green hydrogen, renewable energy and infrastructure development. Then agreement to hold future talks on social security coordination once Oman contributed system is operational. So one of the tricky points have been the social security coordination that is also under talks. Now it's your turn. Attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box. Also, one more thing you have to put in the comment box, which city is the capital of Oman. The third topic we are having is RELOS. Now, what is this RELOS? RELOS is India and Russia have signed a logistic support agreement with each other. That is known as RELOS. Backdrop क्या होगा? Backdrop is simple. Putin, president of Russia, was in India for a 2-day visit. So in that context, we have moved forward in the sector of logistic support to each other's armed forces. Now, relevance is GS paper 3, defense, security, partnership, strategic agreements, and geopolitics. Also, you can include in GS paper 2. Now, let's go to the news here. The news is that India and Russia have concluded a major military logistic cooperation agreement. Now, this particular military cooperation agreement is known as रेलॉस का मतलब है रेसिप्रोकल एक्सचेंज ऑफ लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट, यानी आपस में लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट एक दूसरे के साथ हम लोग एक्सचेंज करेंगे. नाउ what is the news here? What is the development here? The development is that this reloss has been rectified by both houses of the Russian parliament and it has been signed by Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. So from the Russian side, this agreement is now completed. What is left? What step is left? The step that is left is exchange of the instrument of rectification between India and Russia. जैसे ही exchange होगा of the instrument of rectification, then this agreement will come into force. अब इस एग्रीमेंट के फोर्स में आने से होगा क्या? व्हाट बेनिफिट्स वी आर गोइंग टू गेट? सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द नेचर ऑफ द एग्रीमेंट. द नेचर ऑफ द एग्रीमेंट इज फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रेलॉस मींस रेसिप्रोकल लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट फ्रेमवर्क. इट इज बिटवीन आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ऑफ इंडिया एंड द रशिया. आर्म्ड फोर्सेस का मतलब यहाँ पे आर्मी भी है, एयरफोर्स भी है और नेवी भी है. सो तीनों आर्म्ड फोर्सेस को ये इंक्लूड करता है. सो इट इज गोइंग टू इंक्लूड आर्मी, नेवी एज वेल एज एयरफोर्स. Then it is going to establish standardized procedures for military cooperation during operations, exercises and deployments. जैसे humanitarian operations हुए तो उस केस में we are going to have standardized procedures how the militaries are going to coordinate with each other. Now next part is what is will be governed here. It will be governing the movement of military formations including troops, warships और military aircrafts. उसके साथ साथ mutual use of airspace by India and Russian military aircraft. Yani if the Russian military aircraft needs Indian airspace, then India is going to provide that airspace. Or if Indian Air Force needs Russian airspace, India can utilize that airspace. So there will be mutual use of the airspace by India and Russia. Similar is with respect to the ports. So port calls का मतलब ये होता है कि जब the supplies have to be replenished in any shipping vessel, then they can make port calls. So port calls भी the two countries can make with each other. So Indian ports के ऊपर Russian warships आके अपने port calls या अपनी supplies को replenish कर सकते हैं, and Indian warships can go to Russian ports and they can have replenish their supplies. So इससे होगा क्या? It will increase India as well as Russia's ambit in the global naval as well as military space. It covers logistic related aspects such as supply and services and support during deployments on the each other's territory. So एक दूसरे की territory को we will be able to utilize for the operational purposes. उसके साथ साथ it is going to also focus on fuel maintenance and replenishments and other support services. Now, what is going to be the benefit of this particular reloss? The first benefit is that we are going to have strategic relevance in Arctic as well as Indo-Pacific region. Arctic region basically governed by Russia. Russia has a long border along the Arctic region. उसके साथ साथ Indo-Pacific region in which India is there. So India is going to have strategic relevance for both these two regions. उसके साथ साथ it is also going to strengthen India and Russia defense cooperation. And if you remember 1971 war in which Bangladesh was created, Russia had supported India. So in that context, it strengthens India and Russia's defense cooperation. उसके साथ साथ it enhances interoperability between the two armed forces. Also, now if you see, India is now having strategic partnership in terms of logistic support with many strategic partners. For example, ये तो रशिया के साथ हो गया रेलॉस. उसके साथ यूएस के साथ we are having 3 agreements. Limoa, COMCASA and BICA. So these 3 agreements are with USA. So India is growing network of logistic agreements with the key strategic partners. That is another relevance of this agreement. So India is now having logistic agreements with major strategic partners like USA or Russia. And your homework is that you have to tell me in which year these agreements were signed between India and USA. Next part is what are the broader implications. The broader implications is this particular agreement will facilitate joint exercises, naval deployments and long-range military operations. Now it's your turn. You have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. Let's move to the fourth topic. The fourth topic is about the ad hoc judges. Now a strange thing has come out. First of all, we know that judiciary is having a lot of pendency of the cases. उसके साथ साथ there is a vacancy of the judges also, and one of the reasons that we are having a long pendency of the cases is because we are not having enough judges on the benches. So for that, a provision is provided in the constitution known as ad hoc judges provision. So there has been a striking revelation that the former retired judges are not very much willing to be working in high courts. And what is the reason for that? We are going to explore that. Now, first of all, the relevance is GS2 Judiciary chapter, and the backdrop is Chief Justice of India highlights reluctance among the retired High Court judges to return as ad hoc judges. Now, why they are not willing to provide services after retirement? That we are going to see here. So, CGI has observed that there is a reluctance among the retired High Court judges to return as ad hoc judges, and the basic primary reason is embarrassment in sitting with the junior judges along younger serving judges. So what has happened is that in high courts, major cases that are pending is in the front of division bench. In high court, the structure is like this. There is a single judge bench, and from this single judge bench, अगर कोई किसी पे दोबारा से objection आता है तो petition will be going to the division bench. तो पहले केस जाएगा single judge bench पे. If there is a petition against the judgment, that will go to the division bench. Now major cases जो pending है, they are in front of these division benches. So अगर हमें ad hoc judges चाहिए, if we need additional judges, then वो कहाँ आएंगे? They will come to this division bench only. Now, division bench में there has been a rule that was framed in January 2025. This rule says that in division bench, one regular High Court judge along with the ad hoc judge that will be appointed. Now, problem is that ad hoc judge is a retired judge. तो retired है तो that means he is senior to this regular judge. उनसे पहले रहा होगा तो he was a senior to this regular judge. Now in this division bench, who is going to be the you can say the senior one, whether regular judge or the ad hoc judge. तो regular judge को बना दिया गया senior. तो in that context, the retired judges are facing embarrassment in sitting with the junior judges. So that is this whole case is all about. Now next we go to the backlog part and why we need the ad hoc judge and what are the constitutional provisions with respect to the ad hoc judges. So first of all, the backlog, if we see the data, so around 90 lakh criminal cases are pending across 25 high courts, and out of this more than 60% are cases which are more than 1 year long. That means if we are having 19 lakh cases, then almost you can say more than 13 lakh cases are those cases which are pending for more than 1 year. So that is a grave situation. अगर लास्ट ईयर के केसेस होते तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, पर पुराने केसेस दैट मींस वी आर हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ बैकलॉग विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द पेंडिंग केसेस इन द हाई कोर्ट. उसके साथ साथ अनदर प्रॉब्लम इज द जुडिशियल वैकेंसीज. A total strength of 1100 or a total strength of 1122 judges is allocated for the high courts. Now out of this, 298 vacancies are still there in the high courts. That means 1/4 judges are still missing in the high courts. So we are having 1/4 vacancies in the high court. So high courts are working with 75% of their capacity. That's why one of the reasons for high pendency of the cases is the judicial vacancy. Although there are other reasons due to which this pendency of the cases is there, which involves things like the quality of the judgment that is given, repeated challenges to the judgment. So there are other things also, but one of the major reason is that we are having a paucity of the judges in the high court. Now next is Supreme Court said that we need to reduce this pendency because that is a big black blot on the judicial working. So in that case, they invoked Article 224 of the Constitution, and this article provides provision for the ad hoc judges. In the case of ad hoc judges, the retired judges can serve as ad hoc judges and they can decide upon the criminal appeals. So उससे हम pendency को कम कर सकते हैं. Fair enough. Now, objective was to reduce pendency and expedite disposal of the cases. But in April 2021, 2 ad hoc judges, if appointed, should sit together as a division bench. So, initial April 2021 judgment में the Supreme Court said that the ad hoc judges, if they are being appointed, if 2 judges have been appointed, so they will be sitting together in the division bench. However, in January 2025 judgment, this rule was modified and it said that ad hoc judge must sit with a serving judge. तो यहाँ से the problem of reluctance of the retired judges started forming. कि when they are sitting with a serving judge, then who is going to be senior, serving judge or the retired judge? So वहाँ पे कहीं ना कहीं there is a conflict between the serving judges and the retired judges. Now next part is the bench composition concerns were raised that we have already discussed. Now next part is what are the constitutional provisions with respect to ad hoc and additional judges. So if we talk about Supreme Court, so in Supreme Court we are having two articles, Article 127 and Article 128. 127 talks about ad hoc judges and 128 talks about attendance of retired judges in Supreme Court. So in case of ad hoc judges in the Supreme Court, they will be appointed by CJI. कौन अपॉइंट करेगा? चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया, बट with prior consent of president. So first of all, CJI has to go to president कि we need some additional judges, can I appoint them? The president is going to provide the consent for them. Yes, you can appoint additional judge, you can appoint ad hoc judges. Then after that, CJI can appoint these ad hoc judges. And what is going to be the qualification for the ad hoc judges? The qualification will be sitting high court judges who are qualified for the Supreme Court. That means the CJI can choose high court judges to be appointed for some time to Supreme Court so that the pendency or the workload can be reduced. And whenever the CJI is appointing any high court judge to Supreme Court as ad hoc judge, ये permanent judge नहीं, it is an ad hoc judge. In that case, the CJI has to consult with the high court judge also. For example, मान लो छत्तीसगढ़ हाई कोर्ट से one judge has to be appointed to Supreme Court. So in that case, CJI or Chief Justice of India is going to first of all take permission from President. Can I appoint? Yes. And after taking the permission, he is going to consult with the Chief Justice of that Chhattisgarh High Court. And after consultation, he can appoint one judge to the Supreme Court, right? So this is the provision under Article 127. Second is Article 128. It talks about retired judges. So this again CJI with prior consultation of President, he can ask the retired judges or federal court or high court judges who have retired and who are qualified for Supreme Court, they may be appointed to Supreme Court as additional judges. So Article 127 talks about ad hoc judges and Article 128 talks about additional judges. Additional judges में it is about the retired High Court and retired Supreme Court and High Court judges. High Court judges वो जो Supreme Court के लिए eligible हो, they can be appointed for a certain period of time. So this was about the Supreme Court. Now we come to High Courts. In High Courts, Article 224 governs the additional and acting judges, and Article 224 talks about the ad hoc judges. Now here additional and acting judges में क्या होता है कि President can appoint these additional or acting judges. तो यहाँ पे President के पास power है, but he has to consult CJI कि should we appoint or should not we appoint, और CJI की तरफ से आना चाहिए कि we need some additional judges. So in that case, after consultation with CJI, the President can appoint additional or acting judges of the High Court for a maximum period of 2 years. And who can be appointed to High Court? Those persons who are qualified to be appointed as High Court judge. So if a person is qualified to be appointed as a High Court judge, then President, I am again repeating it, President can appoint it. बाकी सब आर्टिकल्स में चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया करेगा प्रेसिडेंट की परमिशन के बाद. यहाँ प्रेसिडेंट करेगा, बस कंसल्ट करेगा सीजीआई को. नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज आर्टिकल 224A. In that case, ad hoc judges can also be appointed to high courts, and ad hoc here means retired judges. So retired judges of high court can be appointed for some period of time to the high courts. In that case, chief justice with president's consent, he can appoint them, and these retired judges can be of same or another high court. So that can be done. So these are the constitutional provisions with respect to appointment of additional judges to Supreme Court as well as High Court. These two for Supreme Court, these two for High Courts. Now next, it's your turn. Attempt this MCQ and post your answers in the comment box and tell me how many High Courts are there in the country. Now let's move to the next topic, that is BS6. BS6 is the Bharat Standard 6 norms for the vehicles, so that what amount of pollution they can create. तो ये norms है जो emission कर सकता है एक vehicle. So news क्या है? Delhi's pollution control measures have put in place, and topic relevance is GS paper 3, environmental pollution and degradation. Now recently हुआ क्या है कि Delhi government has said that any vehicle which is not registered in Delhi and which is not BS6 will not be allowed to play in Delhi. So in that context, there are a lot of challans that are being now being imposed, जो लगाए जा रहे हैं लोगों के ऊपर. And the penalties are like this: 20,000 fine for non-BS6 vehicles and 10,000 fine for BS6 vehicles without a valid PUC or pollution certificate. Now it is said that non-BS6 private vehicles registered outside Delhi have been barred from entering the capital, and also fuel will not be given to any vehicle which is not having a valid pollution under control certificate. So this is the basic news about this. Now let's go to the backdrop of this particular case. The backdrop here is that we are having Bharat standards. So Bharat standard के 6 norms अभी तक आ चुके हैं. The first norm that came in BS2 that was applicable between 2001 to 2005. उसके बाद हमने उसको upgrade किया. So 2005 से 2010 के बीच में we had BS6. After that BS4 was introduced, and BS4 के बाद directly हमने switch कर लिया BS6 को. So we have never introduced BS5 norms. We have directly switched from BS4 to BS6. So that is one point that you should be knowing, that we do not have Bharat Standard 5 norms. We are directly having BS6 emission norms for the vehicles after BS4 norms. And this BS6 norms were applicable from April 2020. तो April 2020 के बाद BS4 vehicles का registration cancel कर दिया गया था. Next thing that comes is that what are these Bharat Standard emission norms? So these Bharat Standard emission norms are basically based upon the European emission standards. तो वहाँ से we have taken the clues, and they control the emissions of these 4 particles. First one is carbon monoxide, then hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxide and particulate matter PM. So इन चारों के लिए we are having emission norms that are covered under Bharat Standard emission norms. Next part, how the BS4 and BS6 are different. So if we talk about BS4, first of all, implementation of BS6 is from 2020. BS4 का 2017 में implementation कर दिया गया था in the whole country. Next part is about the emission limit. So for petrol vehicles, NOx emissions are 25% lower than that of the BS4. Diesel vehicles के लिए it is 68% reduction in NOx emission norms and 82% reduction in the particulate matter norms as compared to BS4. So if a BS4 vehicle is plying on the road or a BS6 vehicle is plying on the road, तो BS4 vehicle अगर 100 grams particulate matter को release करेगा, तो then BS6 will be releasing only 18 grams. So in this context, this particular decision of Delhi government can be right, because जैसे हम BS4 को BS vehicle 4 को bar करेंगे on the roads, then the emissions are going to reduce to certain extent. Then next is particulate matter control. So there is a mandatory diesel particulate filter in BS6 vehicles. उसके साथ साथ catalytic reduction SCR and lean NOx trap is also mandatory in the BS6 emission norms. तो ये दोनों चीजें होनी चाहिए किसी भी BS6 vehicle के अंदर. Then fuel quality requirement, it requires highly refined and ultra low sulfur fuels. इसके अंदर normal refined fuel भी work कर जाता है BS4 के अंदर. So as you can see, BS6 is having more stringent norms with respect to the emissions as compared to BS4 norms. That's why we are having BS6. Now, उससे होगा क्या? Now, if we are implementing this BS6 norms, it is certainly going to increase the cost of vehicle. So the cost of vehicle increases as we have implemented this BS6 norms. Now it's your turn. You have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. And let's move to the next topic. The next topic we are having is Dhruv 64. Now, what is this Dhruv? Dhruv 64 is a microprocessor. For example, we are having a Snapdragon processor, जो आजकल मोबाइल्स में मिलता है आपको, और you can have a Apple processor, जो Apple की processor chip है. तो in that context itself, we are having Dhruv 64, which is a microprocessor developed indigenously by India. So it is the Indian microprocessor. So it's a very good development. So the topic is relevant from indigenization of technology and developing new technologies. Now, who has developed this? This processor has been developed by CDEC under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and December 15, 2025, this processor was launched. So this is the context for this particular news. Now, what is the objective? It is a general purpose processor for the application ranging from consumer electronics, industrial automation, and control systems and embedded platforms. As we can see, India imports a lot of semiconductors or a lot of semiconductor chips from the outside world. So in that context, this processor becomes very, very important for us. Now next is what are the key specification. So this is a 64-bit processor. That's why Dhruv 64 इसका नाम है. उसके साथ it is a dual core and the speed is 1 gigahertz. It is capable of running modern operating systems, also supporting embedded and industrial deployments. Now, if we have developed it first time, so there are going to be certain benefits or certain strength of this processor, and there are going to be certain limitations also. So let's see them also. This can be helpful in telecom, networks, industrial control systems, and critical infrastructure. So this design becomes important. Why? Because we are having a strategic autonomy in the processor. अभी तक we were dependent or we are still dependent upon the processor technology that is being imported from other countries. And as we have seen, USA and China are using these technological interventions to control the growth of other countries. So in that context, we need our own technologies, and this is a one step in forward in that particular direction. Second, it will have a better security control because जो भी processor हम use करते हैं अगर वो बाहर से आते हैं तो they can have certain elements which can compromise our security. So in that context, an indigenous processor can have a better security control and high resilience during the export controls over the supply disruptions. So these are the basic benefits of having an indigenously developed or indigenously designed microprocessors. Now problem क्या है कि this is a new, so a new thing is there, so it will not be able to handle high end smartphones. तो जो अल्ट्रा जो फ्लैगशिप फोन्स होते हैं तो उनको तो दिस प्रोसेसर इज नॉट गोइंग टू हैंडल, और द लैपटॉप प्रोसेसर्स. सो बेसिक फीचर्स को इट विल बी एबल टू हैंडल इजीली, बट जो हाई एंड फोन्स हैं, जो हाई टेक फोन्स हैं, फॉर दैट दिस प्रोसेसर माइट नॉट बी वेरी मच यूजफुल. Because it lacks high core counts. Secondly, GPU for AI and ML workloads उसको भी हैंडल नहीं कर पाएगा. So basically we can say that this Dhruv 64 is best suited for telecom base stations, industrial controllers, routers, and automotive electronics. Next part is that what are the other processors that we are developing. So we are having Shakti being developed by IIT Madras, Ajit by IIT Bombay, Vikram by ISRO SCL, and Tejas by CDEC. Now CDEC is developing another one, Tejas. उसके साथ साथ we are also upgrading this one. So we are having Dhanush, we are working on Dhanush and Dhanush Plus. So Dhanush is having a speed of 1.2 gigahertz and it will be quad core. Likely a 28 nanometer processor it will be having. Then Dhanush Plus is having a 2 gigahertz, again 8 core, but the size will be reduced. It will be 14 to 16 nanometer processor. So these are the new workings, these are the new projects that we are working on, and in the coming future we are going to see that these are also coming in the news. The last part is what are the India's policy and ecosystem support for the development of the microprocessors. So we are having certain schemes like Chip to Startup program, then Design Linked Incentive, INUP I2I initiative, and India's semiconductor missions. So all these policies provide support for the development of new technologies, especially in the terms of microprocessors and the chips. Now with this, it's your turn. You have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. Now the last topic we are having is passive euthanasia. The backdrop is that the Supreme Court has considered a plea for passive euthanasia and relevance is GS paper 2 governance. Now the point here is that what is euthanasia first of all, then what is passive euthanasia, उसके अलावा और क्या होता है, we have active euthanasia also, and then we are going to see what is the legal framework for the passive and the active euthanasia. Now first of all the backdrop, the news here, the news is that the Supreme Court has considered a passive euthanasia plea for a 30-year-old man who has in comatose state for 13 years. So for 13 years he is in coma. So in that case, Supreme Court has said that passive euthanasia plea can be introduced. Now, first of all, what is euthanasia? So euthanasia is the act of ending someone's life, whether a person, whether animal, so as to relieve the pain when that person or animal or that living soul is suffering from an incurable disease. So it is deliberately ending someone's life so as to relieve the pain from his life. That is known as euthanasia. Now euthanasia we are having is of two types. One is passive and one is active. अब इन दोनों में क्या डिफरेंस है? पैसिव यूथनेशिया का मतलब ये है कि इट इज विड्रॉल और withholding of the life sustaining treatment. For example, this person is in coma for which the plea has been accepted by Supreme Court. That person is in coma and he is still living or he is still breathing because of the life support that is provided to that person. If that life support is taken back, then that person will not be able to survive. So this is known as passive euthanasia. So when the life sustaining treatment is withdrawn, that is known as passive euthanasia. Now the person is dying naturally here, whereas if any lethal injection is given, any lethal medicine is given which is going to end the person's life, that will be covered under active euthanasia. In India, passive euthanasia is legal and active euthanasia is illegal. For example, if a person is suffering from cancer and he is in the last stage of cancer and he wants that euthanasia should be there for him, then that will become active euthanasia because एक lethal drug उसको देना पड़ेगा तभी his life is going to end. So that active euthanasia is not legal in the country. It is a criminal offense. Now let's go back to the legal provisions. The legal provisions entail to the first one is Aruna Ramchandran Shonbag versus Union of India, 2011 case. This is the first landmark case on euthanasia in the country. This case said that passive euthanasia is permitted under exceptional circumstances, and it has provided certain safeguards also. For example, it said that approval of High Court is required and opinion of a medical board is also required. Then only the passive euthanasia can be conducted. Then second case we are having important cases. Common Cause versus Union of India 2018 case. This is a constitutional bench case, and it said that passive euthanasia constitutionally is valid. Second thing is that it talks about right to die with dignity as a part of Article 21. So this particular case, Common Cause versus Union of India, identified right to die with dignity as right to life under Article 21. So under this, passive euthanasia was upheld as constitutionally valid. Then it has also laid a detailed procedure. It says hospital level medical board should be there, then district collector attestation should be there, then judicial oversight must be there, and active euthanasia was said to be illegal, explicitly illegal. That active euthanasia will not be legal in the country. This particular safeguard is only for the passive euthanasia. So again, Supreme Court has said that passive euthanasia is legal but under exceptional circumstances, and there are certain safeguards and procedure for that, and active euthanasia is still illegal in the country. Now with this, you have to attempt this MCQ and you have to post your answers in the comment box. With this discussion, we end for the day. Thank you very much.